Warning! Please not attempt to perform any of the stunts or activities in this show as they are dangerous and can lead to serious injury. Video submissions of any kind are not accepted by one side of the coin or Heads or Tails Gaming.
Hey, welcome to One Side of the Coin. I'm your host, Steveo the Gamer, with me as always.
Mack-Attack.
And so tonight we got a really great, exciting show. Just please ignore the band-aid on the side of my head. So we have a very special guest who's going to be joining us in a very quick moment, and we have the return of my hero JC card of the week at the end of the show. So tonight, this man doesn't need really much of an introduction, especially if you were a member of the Genesis Battle of Champion community. You should know this man very, very well. However, he does have his very own YouTube channel. I believe it's on YouTube. That he puts out his own content and whatnot for various TCGs and shenanigans and whatnot. So the name of the channel is called Decks and Drafts. So without further yeah, there he is right there. There's Joey!
Yeah.
Mama Bear.
I like that you introduced me by saying man twice, and I went with Mama Bear because someone's got to be.
Someone's got to be a Mama Bear. Someone's got to be a Mama Bear for sure, right?
Mama Bear. I'm also thankful that you said Decks and Drafts correctly. Thank you for that. That means a lot, actually.
Okay. You're going to have to elaborate on that. Why? Did people say it differently? Or?
I did the first time I read it.
So because you're more European based, so you understand, you can see drafts and understand how that's done. My volume's very low. I'll turn it up. But in America, we go Decks and Draughts.
We just lost the screen.
Can't read.
Okay.
Stop delivery.
My mic is semi-up. I can only do so much.
Yeah. I fixed. Don't worry about it. I have broken stuff well fixed.
Yeah, Kenny.
Do I have to turn this back on, or?
No, leave it. It's fine.
Are you sure?
Netlushpa.
Okay.
I don't speak Spanish.
So we can't see. We're actually talking to you blind at the moment. So.
You are a blank screen.
I asked you if I needed to hit that. You said no.
Are you sure you don't have to
Don't worry about
push
it.
that back in?
Hey, Kenny's having a few technical difficulties. My apologies,
I
Joey.
scream.
Unfortunately, you're actively missing the bikini segment.
I'm so sorry, guys. It's a great view.
It's a great view. Damn it.
What color is he going on right now?
You really don't want to be part of that.
Bright yellow.
Okay, there we go. It's coming
Is
back.
it an itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini?
It is. That he wore for the first time.
There it is. Hey, we're back. I don't know if it showed up blank on the stream. Those who are watching,
No,
it doesn't. Okay, perfect. So they just
This is just a separate.
people were just seeing us in mass confusion, going crazy and whatnot.
Actually, funny enough, Mack-Attack, that you said that yellow polka dot bikini. That is kind of what the if you were to have what the pattern of my logo would kind of be that actually.
Oh my god, yeah, now that you pointed out, yeah, look, it's a polka dot and it's
Oh yeah.
yellow.
Well, it's
Yeah.
supposed to be the
Logo,
bubbles in the
my
draft.
logo.
Yeah. Okay, so my first question to you for this interview is okay, Decks and Drafts. Okay, so how did you come up with that name, and what is your content all about?
Uh-oh, now I'm gone.
Yeah, we're the yeah.
Kenny, what are you doing? There you
And
go.
we were fine.
I am here to break everything.
fine.
Don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
Kenny's just.
Stop playing with it. And you're gone
Kenny's
again.
gone.
Oh no, there.
Kenny,
okay.
what are you doing?
Stop touching things.
Not
Kenny's sabotaging this whole interview. It's
I'm here
crazy.
just
It's
to
like-
mess everything up. It's fun.
It's nice to know that I always can rely on Discord to give me that same zoom of can you hear me? Can you see me? I'm on mute.
Yeah, right.
Alright, so Decks and Drafts. I started about 2.5 years ago during COVID because I was bored.
Because you're bored.
Just like I think a lot of people started a channel during COVID because they were bored. When it came to the name, I wanted something kind of alliterative because that's just kind of who I am. This is really a process of elimination. Things like cards and craft. I wanted to be card games and beer. Those
Card
are the
games
two.
and beer.
Don't worry, I'm ready.
Okay.
I can't do cards and craft.
So am I. I'm ready to.
What? Nice.
Okay,
Yeah, so I couldn't do cards and craft because people wouldn't be able to associate like craft beer. Likely,
Okay.
People think it'd be like greeting cards and whatnot. And there's actually a bunch of ladies that go into breweries and they do craft, like arts and crafts. So I could do that. So that gave me decks and drafts. I couldn't do the normal spelling of decks and drafts because drafts is a format, so you wouldn't be able to associate the beer part of it.
Yep.
So that's when I switched over to the European spelling, and that's why I'm decks and draughts half the time. And I'm like, come on, guys.
Draughts.
That's what I thought it was the first time I read it. Remember, I turned to you and I said that. You're like, that's not how it's.
That's not how it's. Yeah, it's
said.
drafts. Yeah, like well, the whole image itself, right? It looks like a card, but at the same time, it looks like a beer, right? Yeah, with the foam and everything. So yeah. So what's your favorite kind of beer?
Oh God, that depends. Right now I'm in IPA mode. Just it's good weather out for it. Winters, I'm a stout guy. I'm kind of all over the map. The only ones I can't drink are barley wine. I just hate barley wine.
You don't like barley wine? So you're more of like the draft or craft beer kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, when you live in Colorado, we have such a huge scene for microbreweries.
Okay.
That, I mean, it's really hard to go somewhere and not have it somewhere, and there's always something really interesting. It's also really cool to like support local small businesses and
Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of, that's what I'm doing today, which is my friends over at Draughts. Got a hazy IPA from them down in Aurora.
Nice.
That looks like sparkling water.
That's what I'm rocking. Always a beer. And I made my own pie glasses, which was really cool.
Nice.
So they're saying it still sounds like a speaker phone, like he is in the distance, but it's taller.
Yeah, I heard that. I don't understand why.
That's okay.
No, that's
We
on
can
our
hear
end.
it.
Don't worry about that.
Okay,
Joey, is
can
that a
you-
My Neighbor Totoro shirt?
It's not just that.
Oh my God, it's Batman!
Oh my God.
Oh, that's
That's the
amazing.
Toro.
Is that from something or?
My Neighbor Totoro is a Studio Ghibli anime.
Oh, okay.
That's the mashup.
I got Bert deferred.
Nice.
I got Slipknot. You can't see it because it's friggin' on my head, but
All my
whatever.
head, yeah, for sure. So the last time that we actually, sorry, go ahead. No.
I was gonna say, like, Mac, have you been exposed to Muppets? Like, do you see that shirt? I'm like, I know exactly what that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm making sure. Good job, Dad. Good
Huge.
job, Papa Bear.
Swedish chef.
I introduced her to the Muppets, and she kind of fell in love with it as much as I do. So like, I'm a huge Muppet fan. For
I
sure.
stole this guy's jacket that he had in high school with Animal on it. I stole it.
Yeah, well, because back in high school, that was my nickname because I'm like kind of crazy and did a whole bunch of stupid, wild
I
things and
thought it was
whatnot.
going to be about your long, luscious locks.
So yeah, no. So I actually acquired the nickname in high school, Animal, right? So and then a friend of mine gave me a jacket that had Animal on it, and she ended up stealing it. So, but yeah.
Nice. Anyway, before we get too far, cheers, you guys.
Cheers.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sorry.
Cheers to everybody watching as well. Thank you guys for joining.
So the last time that you and I actually talked outside of like social medias or on the phone and whatnot in person was the championship, right? So
That was a while ago.
it was a long time ago. And then the first time we actually met in person was at the circuit event in Washington. I remember because we were doing some streams alongside you at that event, which was absolutely phenomenal, and it was a great experience having met you and whatnot.
That was fun.
So-
I like Lost Star. It was a little intimate. It was like a little intimate,
Yeah.
fun little tournament, but it was 12 people there and
Leslie on top of it, right?
Leslie, yeah,
That was
Leslie was
awesome.
just signing everything for like 6 hours because he brought about 5 hours worth of things to sign.
Sign.
And everybody else brought some things.
That I did, yes. Yeah, I kept her pretty busy for most of the day.
The community there was great, though. I loved playing out there. It was awesome.
So what would you say your primary content is, though, for decks and drafts?
So, the game that I started it with was with Flesh and Blood. That's what kicked it off. Since then, it's been kind of a blend of a lot of things. I haven't had a lot of opportunities to just play games, especially since I got a daughter and whatnot. But that if I do game content, there's a better chance it's going to be Flesh and Blood than anything else right now. Lately, I've also been trying to switch a little bit and do more kind of industry and business focused things. Being part of the Genesis experience, as well as just my own observations of the industry and my concerns of the industry. I've got a mission, and actually you two very much are part of the inspiration for it. Is I want to play card games with my kids someday. Like I want to play card games with my daughter. And the last couple of years, especially looking at the Kickstarter madness and what Magic is doing, that's not very likely. Like, I'm terrified of 10 years down the road, hey, I want to play this game. It's like, I'm sorry, but the boxes are $600 and I can't have you touching my first edition stuff. And I don't want that. I hate that being the norm. That sucks. Yeah. So I've been doing a lot more industry and business focus. I don't think enough people really talk about that side of it anyway, so I wanted to bring some of the marketing knowledge I have from the experience I have even before Genesis. I've got about a decade. And just explore, examine, and whine and yell.
Whine and yell. Put in your 2 cents, right? Like your opinion kind of thing. Which is
if anything, I get to educate and empower from the other side of the cardboard. Is kind of my own little personal mission. Especially working for Genesis, seeing it from that side, seeing what it's like to be a publisher and have to look at the business angle and learning some really hard lessons and stuff that just did not work. Coming in as a fan who wanted to make the game grow, I got kicked in the teeth pretty hard from a lot of people, y'all included, and I'm thankful for that. Now,
from us, we kicked you in the teeth.
Huh? Oh yeah, I mean the people who are definitely very devoted to Genesis, and there's a strong core community, and don't take this as an insult or anything like that. It's just there's a strong core community that had some pretty strong feelings about the direction, and y'all had a lot more history than I had. So I came in with all my little whippersnapper new guy music man ideas, and they got weighed very much against the reality. That was like what the core community has dealt with. And I was like, oh, I can't do the same. I can't do this the way that I hoped to. So it wasn't like you guys made things terrible. It's I really had to re-examine, and it taught me a lot about the industry and working in it. And in hindsight, it's cool stuff to know. So I'm trying to bring some of that to Decks and Drafts. A little bit of that knowledge to Decks and Drafts, and a couple other podcasts here and there. I've done a couple with some other more industry focused, like Booster Pack Network and Rands. And I've been on Hobbies and Happiness, and just trying to do things a little different.
A little bit different, yeah. It's kind of like the route that we've been going on, more or less, like with doing some interviews with other content creators, and focusing on not just solely on one card game like we were in the past, but kind of branching off and starting to look at all different types, right? And put a little bit more focus on that.
I think if there's anything that this has taught me, not just Genesis, but even just the Kickstarter stuff, is that there's actually a lot more room at the table than I think we gave it credit for. I remember, when Flesh and Blood, I would say, kind of kicked off the real possibility of a new game, new IP, being able to break in. But there was always the criticism of, how are you going to beat Magic? How are you going to beat Yu-Gi-Oh? How are you going to beat Pokemon? How are you going to beat these things? And I'm sure anytime you think about a new game in your store, you're probably thinking, is this going to matter to my community that is already pretty embedded in certain games? And I think that the last couple of years, there's been a lot more acceptance and a lot more new faces who are willing to say, you know what, actually, there's actually some stuff out here that is really worth taking a look at. It's been pretty inspiring, honestly.
Yep.
So go for it. Yeah, check out the new stuff. Rock it out. There's some really cool ideas out there too. So Magic as a game definitely should not be the gold standard for mechanics.
No. I agree with you 100% on that. But I mean, let's take a step back and talk about Kickstarter, for instance. So as a retailer myself, though, when things kind of get presented to me, hey, there's this new game coming out, right? And I know from talking to other fellow retailers and whatnot, and they say, has it gone to Kickstarter? And as soon as they say yes, it goes to Kickstarter, most retailers are saying, no, we don't want to carry it, right? It's like, boom, it's not going to visit the shelf whatsoever. Now, do you think for the TCG industry, this is a good thing moving forward? Do you think that people coming out with newer games, wanting to, kind of get that initial start using Kickstarter, is it really beneficial to them?
See, here's the problem with Kickstarter is, and this depends on the company, because there's a lot of Kickstarter games that don't look at Kickstarter as just a kickstart. And in some cases they do so well that they treat it as if that's their end-all be-all, and they're good. They're good from there. And they're not. I like Kickstarter as a true proof of concept kind of builder. I'm okay with something like that. Because the reason that retailers probably say no. I can assume the reason that you say no to seeing a Kickstarter is, the second that's delivered, that's product you don't get to sell.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kickstarter's a business to consumer platform, so you've already been ignored. You've already been bypassed. Like that's what I look at, like with a game like Sorcery that has $4 million. That's an incredible amount for a Kickstarter for a card game. And on the flip side, as a retail, I'm like, that's $4 million of sales that are gone
From retail. Yeah.
I've got to find something else. So I'd like to see, if games are going to go the Kickstarter route, and this is something that Genesis struggled with. I'd like to see them be able to go to market, like go to you, and have an actual business plan post Kickstarter. Like I don't want to go to you and say, "Here's my game. Look how great it did on Kickstarter." I said, "We had a game that did well on Kickstarter, but here are the things that we're doing that are going to help you succeed. That we're going to make for you, and you're going to have a better chance with that." We started doing that with Genesis last year at Gamma, where we shifted the focus to be a lot more business to business.
Yeah.
And we were getting a lot of really good success by just coming to the gate and saying, "Hey, we had a successful Kickstarter, but that doesn't mean anything to you. That just validates there's an audience. Now that we've had that conversation, here's what we want to do for your customers. Here's what we want to do for you, the business owner." And that started to work really, really well. So I want to see games that are in Kickstarter land appreciate that they are starting a business with their card games. If they can do that, then cool, use Kickstarter. If they can't and think that just succeeding on Kickstarter means that you're going to be knocking down the door and they're going to be good, no, you kind of deserve the struggle.
Yeah. Because I mean, like, if a lot of retailers do start backing out of it, just because it did go to Kickstarter, and then it becomes more difficult for us to build a community. How successful is the game going to be in the future, kind of thing. Like, so, like, I mean,
the about the Kickstarter is that with Kickstarter games, naturally the initial draw is the tendies, right? The Kickstarter version. That's what everybody really gravitates towards. What happens set 4? What happens with all those people who are like really excited about the free money on the 4th set? They're going to look at your game and see that there's no audience, there's nobody playing, there's no growth. It's just a physical community opening the packs they held on Discord. And they're going to go and find the next guy who has their own alpha. They're like, "Oh, he's got an alpha. Let's go over there." It reminds me of the Simpsons episode where they get the pool. Where Lisa gets it's like super hot summer. Lisa gets a pool. Everybody floods to Lisa's pool. Like, and Lisa's the most popular girl in school. And then Martin gets a pool down the street. It was like, he's a little wimpier kid. He's got a bigger pool. So suddenly she's just chopped liver. Nobody cares. That's basically what I see.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Lisa's pool ends up with absolutely no water and is completely worthless, and Martin's pool gets just destroyed to oblivion.
And then
that's my metaphor right now, I think, for Kickstarter games.
And then nobody's left with a pool, right? So, like, I mean, Kickstarter is not going to offer a space for people to come in and play the game either, right? So it's just like it's the same thing with like big box stores when it comes to the competition between big box stores and LGSs, right? It's like up here we have Walmart. I don't know if you guys have Walmart down there, or I think the equivalent would be Target for you guys.
But we have a Walmart too. We've got a Walmart, we got Target, we've got the big boxes.
But I mean, they don't offer play space, right, for people to come in and play.
No.
So it's you're kind of back to that scenario, right? So it's like what?
Walmart and Target don't have play spaces.
That's what I'm saying. They don't have play space, but yet they still sell the product, right?
Oh, well,
so
yeah.
And they try to compete with the LGSs that actually have the ability to offer the play space for people to come in and play, right? So. And it's the same sense with like Kickstarter.
The big reason you care about that kind of stuff is that stuff brings in just natural curiosity, which is what helps grow your base.
Yep.
Having like a bunch of Genesis players who love the game and then take it home with their friends, that's not going to get them to bring anybody outside of their own group that they're just going to take home, take to their house.
And play
that person's probably not going to buy any products because they're just going to pool the collection.
Yeah.
LGSs are so vital for reasons I don't think people recognize, because they turn Kickstarter from this cool, hype, awesome, fun engine of excitement into a sustainable thing that can drive itself. That's why y'all are important.
Yep.
Aw, thanks, Joey.
What?
Huh?
Aw, thanks, Joey.
Kenny's thanking you for something.
For calling us important.
Calling us important, yeah.
Y'all are important.
Been on all the eons ends except for that.
The end. What's
Yeah.
really cool is like the LGSs are getting a lot more innovative and creating cooler experiences now also. So that's been a really cool little evolution. With some, not all of them are doing it, but it's neat to see. It's like, oh, like I get really fancy chairs that I don't have at home, or there's a really cool space, so they offer really cool drinks. Yeah, Aeon's End's a really good example, I think, of a Kickstarter that doesn't care. Granted, they don't necessarily need to have people play in stores, but I do see that one kind of linger, because they offer everything that they've sold in the past on their Kickstarter. So yeah, why go through an LGS and pay retail?
Fair enough, yeah. What I would like to see though is like if Kickstarter was like a game was to start in Kickstarter, like offer just an introductory product, right?
Yes.
And then yeah, if they want to keep it exclusive to Kickstarter, like that's the only way to have gotten that product. But like for their official launch, just have it go straight to retail rather than having all that product only available through Kickstarter only, right?
Like sell only
yeah.
like starter decks or something like that through
Yeah.
Kickstarter, and then everything else in retail.
Without going into the ether, because Lord knows I could with this subject, but it's something. If it's something that people do know that I say.
You guys talking about
Hi, Two Lanes. If my version, my thought about the gold standard of a Kickstarter, a TCG Kickstarter, and depending on your relationship with it, you might laugh when I say it. My gold standard for Kickstarter that I point people to on how to set up the campaign correctly is MetaZoo. MetaZoo. I know. There's a line of demarket. There's a line we got to cut them off at. But they were MetaZoo's original Kickstarter before they turned into whatever they became is actually kind of gold. The price points are great. There's a lot of introductory products. There's a lot of this is just the vision of stuff we'd like to bring to the community. There's a lot of this is what we're doing for LGSs. This is what to expect from shipping. This is how we're going to be after this Kickstarter. It was great, and then they ignored all of that. They threw all that away. I don't know why priority windows up, Kenny. It doesn't need to be. But then they threw away all of that and became garbage. But,
Why was that up?
I meant to show it earlier and I forgot and I just noticed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were great. That's the stuff I'd like to see. I'd like to see within any Kickstarter a very clear line for LGSs to kind of bypass the tier system. And get on board and be able to kind of do their own thing. I also really strongly feel like if you're going to do a Kickstarter, your main product needs to not be Kickstarter branded.
Yep.
So that's for me a red flag, because you were suddenly less value to any LGS that gets you afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, which we had noticed with the Genesis, because all the Genesis Kickstarter product all had the little Kickstarter symbol in the bottom corner, as opposed to when Origins came out retail, didn't have that, right? So now there's a huge difference between the Kickstarter sets and the regular sets. So
yeah, and that was a lesson that I learned after the fact. A couple of these things I learned, not that Genesis was harder to sell per se, but it was one of those. There was a feeling from the community of like, why would I go and get this retailer thing when I can find the Genesis flippers? And it really helped that so many people tried to flip Genesis and learned that they couldn't, so they started fire sailing it.
yeah.
That didn't help.
Nope.
Dang it. So like I could get the Kickstarter, the cool stuff, for cheaper.
Yeah.
We had some things working against us.
Couple. Okay, let's divert the topic. Okay, so so you like drinking and playing cards. Would you prefer to go to an LGS that actually serves alcohol more so than one that doesn't?
New business model?
What?
New business model?
Are you asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, you trying
No.
to sell
You
alcohol?
gotta
No,
sell
I'm asking Joey. I'm asking Joey a question.
Fine, okay. So one, those exist out here, and Kenny, that's a big batch of liability. You really
Yes. Well, especially up here, because I mean, we have to have an actual liquor license,
Just
right,
a
to
smart
serve
server.
it
I have mine.
I know you do.
and whatnot. But
Hire him.
I feel like I think I've got it. I think I got my answer for this. If
Okay.
I were to go and do that, I would prioritize an LGS that served beer if I knew the community that was there. Like if I was more of a regular, I'd be more interested in that. I don't know how much I would care if I was just walking into a random LGS for the very first time. I didn't know people, partly because I just don't know how their community is going to respond to alcohol. Again, that's the liability thing.
okay, now, so we see a lot of like game board cafes and whatnot that do actually, you know, sell alcohol, or you can eat. Like they have a restaurant attached to it. You go in, play games and whatnot.
Having food is also a real important one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, on the LGS side, though, like a lot of snacks and whatnot available to customers is always important, and drinks. But we're talking about like the alcohol, right? So I think, in a sense, do you feel that it would limit the amount of customers potentially for that specific type of LGS rather than having it without the license, right? And then you don't have to restrict.
So we've got a car shop out here. They're oh my god, there's a quarter jar. There's a metaphor. There's a in my head invisible quarter jar. How many times I confuse Haunted Castle Gaming with this game store? You're gonna understand real fast.
Okay.
But they're gonna be kind of my story here. We have a game store up the street called Haunted Game Cafe.
Oh,
Okay.
that name is very close. I can
It's
see
still
that,
it.
yeah.
It's still
Haunted
HGC,
Game
right?
Cafe.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
They primarily were a coffee shop, and that's where they put most of their focus. And I think that as far as including alcohol, I think they're the perfect model, where they primarily got themselves known as a coffee shop and espresso, and they did like real good drinks, and they really put effort into that menu. And then the alcohol part was just something on the side. I like that. For me, I know I can kind of go in and indulge. I feel from a business perspective, leaning heavily on the alcohol might shut off the families that want to go and just kind of hang out at a game store, thinking that they're really going into a bar. I would like it if the alcohol aspect was really just a nice to have, more than like their main marketing of, hey, come here, drink, play games.
See, and I was gonna say that. It's like, I feel like if LGSs are gonna serve alcohol, they should have like specific nights that are like, you know, for like specific games that, you know, have alcohol involved. So then other nights, families, like kids and that, are still able to come in and they're not around that.
What's up, Timmy? It's like 21 and up nights at the nightclub.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, something
exactly.
like, yeah.
16 and up night, everybody.
Yeah.
Well, here it'd be 19. I forgot.
Here it's 19.
States
Yeah,
is 21.
States is 21.
So actually, I do have to answer that question in chat. I do actually have a dream. I've been around for a while and I've got some money to try a business out. I actually want to turn Decks and Draughts into a tap room / game shop.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, that's
what
the
would
one
you
question.
call
What
your
would you
food
call your
alcohol
food
based?
alcohol
What would you call it though,
Yeah,
Joey? If you were to open one, what would you call it?
He just said.
Oh, well.
He'd call it Decks and Draughts.
Oh,
I
okay.
would call it Decks and Draughts, and the reason the business model that I have in my head that I think would be really cool is to not so much tap the game space more than tap the event space. And here's what I would do with it. I'm matching up the tap room, and I can shut it off. I can shut the tap room off whenever from the event space, so that way one can stay open longer than the other and things like that.
Yeah.
And then I'd love to try to focus on like really cool high-end events, as well as to bring in some really cool guests, and do a lot of and have the game store side be really attuned to streaming, and being able to do like live streams of things. And then I kind of want to be known as like, hey, if there's going to be like a high event, I can also establish an online presence as Decks and Draughts for the deck side or the draft side, whenever the heck I want. But the reason I really want to focus on the live streaming space and whatnot is because I also have to appreciate that during like weekdays, there's not nearly as much business for a game shop as there would be in the evening. You can't really run events Monday at 11 a.m.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
However, However, if all the technology is there and I have a tap room, what you can do at 11 a.m. on a Monday is business teleconferencing.
Okay.
So I would take my game event center that I would have like in the evenings and on weekends, and during the days I would use it as a rentable event space for event teleconferencing.
Yeah.
So those places can come out, and businesses they've got a tap room right there. They can do whatever meetings they want to. I try to like be able to separate out the floor. I got a whole vision, and all the infrastructure it's already there.
Yeah.
And it's already proven because I can live stream with it, and that's how I try to make money in the day.
Yeah, that would work too.
Someday.
Yeah,
That's
you should
my
do
vision.
it. So what's holding you back?
I have a daughter that's 6 weeks old, and I'm poor.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Now is not the time for me to jump into big business ventures like that. Also, I'm not entirely convinced we're staying in Colorado. I'm actually pretty confident we're not staying in Colorado.
Ah, you're moving. Where are you planning on going?
That's up to the wife.
Ah.
I set my foot down and said, I want to move to like the Loveland area when we bought our house. But the trade-off to putting my foot down with the wife is that she gets to pick the next place. We just have a lot of friends who are parents up here, so I wanted the support structure while we started our family.
Nice.
So once we outgrow this place, she gets to pick. Canada's not actually off the list, by the way.
Nice.
It's actually very much on the list, and I really want to take her to Toronto because I love Toronto. I love Toronto.
Yeah, we got
hockey people. So we've
yeah.
had Hockey Hall of Fame, and we're not going to be Maple Leafs fans, but like they're Hockey Hall of Fame.
Good for you.
The one time I have ever actually heard somebody say that they like Toronto, and it's coming from an American.
I like Toronto.
Stop.
Kidding.
You're lying to yourself. No, you do not.
I think he's just opposing her because
No Canadian likes Toronto.
Canada
I will
does.
tell
I don't
you
like
that.
driving there.
like
Walking's
Toronto
fine.
because you
Well, that's what I mean. Nobody likes Toronto.
You like
Here's what
Toronto
I'll
because
say
you can
about
spend
Toronto.
money on your
Flying into
physical
Toronto, I
population.
don't know if you have like a height ordinance, but flying in
Jerry
Toronto is like the flattest thing imagined. Like every building flying into Toronto has to have like the same height or something. I don't understand it. It's real weird.
See, flying is
Hey, I
different.
like Toronto. I just
Good
don't
luck
like driving there, being there.
Yeah, driving there,
Steven,
being there. Oh my
Steven's
God.
saying it. I agree with him 100%. Yeah.
Good
I
luck.
had to do that, but so you can say that basically about any
must
place.
just
And
be
one
us
of the reasons I
Americans
like
like it.
Toronto is because, and this is the film nerd in me, is that you have a very New York City vibe, but you have more space.
Yes.
Which is why so many places that need to film the scenes in New York City go to Toronto to film them.
A lot of stuff is filmed in Toronto.
Because you have
It's so
all,
chaotic,
you have all
though.
that look of that New York City look, but your streets are like twice as wide.
Yeah, it's so chaotic driving there, walking around there. But
Dude, I refuse to drive in Toronto.
yeah, same
Mom
here.
has told me numerous times. She's like, "Oh yeah, you're driving now. Now we
If
gotta."
we
take
ever
you
go
to
there, my
Toronto."
wife
I'm
always
like,
drives. I never drive
No,
in
I
Toronto. I
can't.
hate it. It's
I
insane.
can't.
But
Alright, so when we say that, I also did. I'm not saying like I would be in downtown Toronto. I'm not like no, God no. Like we'd in a suburb kind of area.
So
but
it'd be
Toronto's
kinda
on our
like
list.
Hamilton.
Also PNW, Pacific Northwest, like Washington. We really want someplace that's lush, honestly.
Go live in Nova
That's
Scotia.
really,
Nova Scotia.
yeah.
Go out east. It's beautiful out east.
Yeah, it is. It's really
We've
nice
been
out there.
I used to live out there. So yeah, it was started a new family. So you had told me last time we talked, or a couple of times ago we talked. You're starting a new project, new podcast. You want to give us a little bit of info on that, or can you reveal anything? It's up to you.
I'm hoping to have at least you, Steveo, be a guest, and it might almost even make sense for Mac to join as well. Because you have a very interesting take on that. It's cool to see parents that get families that game together. So I'm starting a new podcast. It's actually releasing next week.
Nice.
Thursday now. I was gonna do it tonight, and then no, I can't edit that much.
Yeah.
But I'm starting a podcast called The Priority Window, which is a gamer parent podcast. So the angle here is that I am a new parent and I don't know what I don't know. I learned that through pregnancy already. Like I got my unsolicited advice from people who were like, "Oh, here's what you should do with your wife," and they told me like maybe a third of it. So there's a lot of I don't know what I don't know. So I'm bringing parents on from all over the world who have a gaming hobby. Doesn't just have to be card games, but it'll most likely at least be that. Start with that, because that is one of the few gaming ones that requires you to leave home. But I'm bringing parents on to kind of talk to me about their tricks and how they balanced with their significant other, if or not, of how do you be a gamer while being a parent, and what are the trade-offs, and what do you give up, and how do you find a balance, not just in maybe finding time or finding money, but even like the first episode of this is called POMO, so you know, fear of missing out, right? So this episode's called POMO, which stands for plan on missing out. I know I see something exciting I want to go to. I know I'm not going.
Yeah.
I already know that.
You do now, yeah, with a newborn,
With
yeah.
a kid, yeah.
That's not a thing. So how do I balance the emotions of that and still feel like I'm a part of the community, and still feel I'm a part of the part of the game, still feel like I belong, like stuff like that. That was a really good episode. That was real fun.
Nice.
But yeah, so I've got a whole bunch of different topics, and some of them are going to be kind of how do we deal with the emotions, but I'm going to learn like the ups and downs. As you two who play together, I think that's so cool. So yours will be a lot more of a fun episode.
Yeah, for sure.
How do I deal with my problems episode? But then also deal with some of the other topics of one of the other episodes I recorded is all about the Satanic Panic.
The Satanic Panic.
The Satanic Panic, which probably did not make its way up to Canada. God, I hope not. But if you grew up as a gamer and a card gamer, even in the late '80s and early '90s, you had to deal with the Satanic Panic, which was the idea that so many things are trying to drive children into the occult.
I just saw my guy all the
Okay.
way down here in a 40-minute delivery time.
So this is about the time that Dungeons and Dragons was getting really popular. Magic the Gathering, of course, just got started, and that was super demonic. I actually didn't know that they had to change. They changed the art for demonic tutor because of that. I think they took off the pentagram, the big pentagram on the thing.
Yeah.
Really?
But for anybody who lived through the Satanic Panic, the game that was the biggest problem of them all was not Magic the Gathering. It was Pokemon.
No!
It was Pokemon. And there were a lot of parents who looked at the tiny little things that the creatures did, that they were demonic all of a sudden. So a real good example is, Mewtwo's pose is like this. It's like, he's very like this, but he's only got 3 fingers.
Yeah,
Right?
Yes, he does.
He does like this in some of his poses. In Satanic Panic Land, somebody went as far as to say that this thing was actually this thing, which is Mewtwo trying to show off the devil horns and get kids to say "Hail Satan."
What? But this is I love you in sign
Yeah,
language.
this is I love you.
No, if you go like
And then
this,
this is
without
rock
the
on.
thumb,
Yeah.
that's rock on.
Oh.
This
supposed to be
is
rock
I love
on.
it, and it's
Yeah,
different, right?
I love
Usually
you.
you go like that or that, right? It's like bullhorn, devil horn.
I much prefer this one.
Well, you know, this is I love it. There's different.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Pokemon was the problem. Meanwhile, Digimon's running around with devils and gimp suits. So I had to throw all of my Magic cards away because I lived up to that time, and I played Star Wars instead because my parents clearly never saw Star Wars and didn't realize like it's basically the same thing. It's just named differently. But no, and I don't know how much of a family show this is, so sorry
No,
back on this.
it's okay.
The most fun, weird Satanic Panic, bizarre theory that I know of is that Poliwhirl with the little hypnosis
Yeah.
symbol. Poliwhirl is secretly turning children into sex slaves.
What?
That's what he's doing.
Whoa! Well, who was it Hypno?
That one I didn't know that one.
Hypno
Out of
actually
all the
hypnotized.
Pokemon you could have picked for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Wow.
No, there's a Pokemon called Hypno, which is said to actually go into your dreams and like mess you
There's
up.
Yeah.
a whole episode where Hypno just takes over like 5 people.
Yeah.
Like,
Freddy Krueger style.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean the stretches that the conglomeration denomination, for lack of a better word, term, the stretches they went to try to suggest that the children were being targeted in the most bizarre of ways. So that was a really fun episode to chat about that experience, but also it brought into conversation of, at, like, what age do you expose your kids to, like, certain games?
Yeah.
We chat, one of the questions that came up of, would I expose my child to Magic? And maybe what age? On the flip side of that, if they came home and had Magic, how might I react if that's something that's really important to me?
Yeah.
Which sounds not. I'm kind of weird. Like, my wife is witchy. We've got a death desk altar next to our bed.
Nice.
She's super pagan. So that won't be an issue for us.
Pagan,
But
Yeah, we're both pagan.
Yeah.
you're both a pagan?
So
Yeah.
We are both pagan here.
Honestly, I probably could have guessed from the pants when I met you out in Washington.
From the pants? From my pants? I don't. Yeah.
Very loose.
Very loose, yeah. No, to go back, like, I can relate to, while she composes herself, going back to the whole, like, back in the 80s and that, like I remember, and I can relate because we actually got banned from playing Dungeons and Dragons in school, and I was in grade school at the time when it first came out, because there were some deaths associated with it, and they really related it to doing like satanic rituals and people acting it out, especially when battling demons and summoning demons and whatnot, and the spell casting, and it got banned from school. Like, we weren't allowed to play it. We weren't allowed to bring anything related to it into the school at all. So
See, I'm glad that it's not banned in my school, but it also sucks because barely anybody I know plays it. So, like,
So I think like Mac, you're in at a really cool time because back then, back in the 80s and 90s, this was really the first time that people were really kind of exposed to something like a card game.
it was just kind of
They didn't
first
really know,
being
like, the
introduced.
positive benefits, so all they can really look at and respond to is just the imagery of it. So you're not paying attention to studies on how it's affecting a child's brain or anything like that.
Right.
So you're kind of coming in at a time where you've got a couple generations where you've gotten to see, like, the cool things that gaming has done. One of my favorite stories is I used to help out with Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments back when Wizards of the Coast had a retail store, which that was a thing. That ended in 2002, 2003. But yeah, I used to help out with Yu-Gi-Oh, and there was a kid that ran up to his mom and said, can I get some can I get a pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards? And she looks at this pack and it's like, it's $2.49 at the time for 9 cards, and she cannot comprehend why 9 pieces of cardboard is $2.49. She couldn't wrap her mind around that. She's like, this feels like I'm getting nothing for my money. And I ended up looking to her because I listened to him. I watched as he went off in a little bit of a huff, and it kind of was a revelation of, take a look at what your kid is doing: math and reading and critical thinking and logic and social skills and all of these things that we as adults take for granted because we've done it. And he's doing all this stuff with people who he's never met before. $2.49 is a phenomenal price for that kind of experience. So now we're a couple generations of getting to see stuff like that and the value of gaming. So Mac, you're in kind of a real cool time for it.
There was one thing. Speaking of stuff being banned in school, I was in
Never going to school again.
2nd or 3rd grade, maybe? It was like around that time, like younger elementary school. Pokemon was actually banned in my elementary school because they had, it wasn't because of like the images or what the cards did. Nobody knew how to play, literally but me, because, card store owner here. But
I feel like this is alright, finish your story and I'm gonna whine about it.
No, the only whine about it. The only reason it was banned was because there was so many issues with the tradings going on, and because a lot of them were unfair, the prices weren't adding up.
Kids not understanding
not
the value
understanding.
of cards when parents were forking over tons and tons of money for the cards that the kids want, and then the kid turns around and trades it, especially with the amount of proxies or fake cards that are on the market today,
And then the
right?
kids wanting them back, and they weren't able to because the kids
Yeah.
didn't want to give them
And
back.
it caused a lot of issues
Yeah.
with parents in the school.
Especially around that time, EXs were huge,
Mm-hmm.
so kids were trading, like, a Charmander for, like, a cool EX, and it's like, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah. I taught eighth grade graphic design for 2 years, and as part of doing that, I sponsored an after-school card gaming club to try to avoid those types of things. Because
Nice.
I knew it. I still played Yu-Gi-Oh, but I was like, hey, I at least know how to not get screwed as a trade. So that I tried to support that, but I can absolutely see this is why we can't have nice things angle. But I have to laugh that you were like the only one, because I said this on another podcast about I had Pokemon also as a kid, because I jumped into that. Also another post Magic thing, and I played, and they were shocked that I knew how to play. I don't know. I feel like 2-3 years in, Pokemon stopped. I had like nobody who knew how to play all of a sudden, and they were a rare breed. I don't know why that happened.
There was actually one time, because we used to hold tournaments down at, like, D&D United, the karate place that my siblings used to go to. And there was one kid, I got so upset.
D&D United.
Yeah, it's a martial arts dojo. I used to run events out of there for Pokemon. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we should have ran D&D there, wouldn't
Yeah.
But there was a kid who had come down and he was playing with one energy throughout the entire game, and I noticed it and I got so mad. I didn't say anything to him, but this guy heard all about it afterward.
Oh.
Oh, I got so mad. I was like, that kid wasn't even playing properly.
It happens. I mean, but that's where you teach the
That's
kids,
kids.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, teaching that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, well, I laugh
actually,
about it
so
now.
one more thing, kind of on the Satanic Panic aspect of it, because actually Toronto's a name that also came very much up. My mom got really into conspiracy theories around this time also, so there were problems. And I don't know, Steve, you might know. So I don't know how. Assuming you've lived in Toronto all your life, you guys, Toronto had the Toronto blessing.
We don't live in Toronto.
Huh?
We don't live in Toronto. We're in Brantford.
Suburb. I don't know, like Toronto adjacent. Could you drive to it in?
About an hour.
About an hour and a half.
We're just slightly
Okay.
outside of the GTA.
Everything's outside of the
Okay.
GTA.
That's
Grand Theft
that's like where I
Auto.
am. Okay, that's like where I am in relation to Denver. It takes about an hour. So.
I was born and raised in Windsor, actually,
Oh, okay.
right across from Detroit. Yeah,
I was
You went
born
even
in
more
Denver.
north.
north.
Well, either way, in your adjacent, it's religion, so it travels. But in the early '90s, you had the Toronto blessing. That was Toronto's big religious craziness. Of,
Yeah, we'll go with this.
holy laughter is what it was. Is what it equated to. Of just people laughing uncontrollably in the name of the Jesus. And it started out in Toronto.
Oh no.
So my mom made conspiracy theories, like really looked at these weird little things. So
It's crazy.
anyway, that's a fun little random side note on that. But anyway, yeah, priority window, bringing the whole thing full circle. I'm excited to bring you guys on.
Yes,
So you
for
guys
sure.
can teach me some stuff about really just the nuances of being a gamer parent and the fun and the highs and lows. But that's hopefully launching next week with
Next week?
episode 1. And
Nice.
I'll probably do them bi-weekly because I'm a parent and I have to appreciate how long things take to edit.
Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to participating in it. How do people find out about Priority Window? Like, where would they have to go to listen?
It's just my channel. It's going to be on my channel, Decks and Drafts.
Okay.
But it's also going to be everywhere else. So I'm gonna put it on Spotify and Apple and all those things. I need to kind of get the first one edited and have something that can kind of wait and sit in a premiere before I can really go advertising crazy.
Okay.
So I'll eventually be putting things out there that's, hey, set a reminder and all of that. So that'll be how you can find it when it's ready to go. But in the meantime, if you'd like to subscribe to Decks and Drafts, I think most people already have.
Yeah.
Then come and join me. It'll be a lot of fun.
And that's just straight on YouTube, right?
Yeah, so I'm doing a YouTube live premiere at 8 p.m. on Thursday is the plan. So kind of
Tomorrow?
right after you guys would be.
Oh no, today's Thursday. Next Thursday.
8 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
Right after you guys would be, so that way parents can put their kids to bed and then join me. I learned that one. And then yeah, it'll be everywhere else, but it'll be fun. I'm excited to hear everybody's insights. I've already taken things away from that first episode, including the mind-blowing one of maybe don't make the thing you do with your free time be card games. If you need something that guarantees you're going to be able to break away and feel better about it. That was a real good chat. But Steve, you're going to enjoy this.
Yes.
And Mac, I know Mac, you're going to be like, and you might have your own thoughts, but I'm going to encourage you, Mac, to not help him. When you are a guest, Steve-O, one of my segments is your kid as a card. So take a game, take a card, think about the kiddo or kiddo, and you'll think about a kid, your kid, kiddos, any of those, for either the art, the mechanics, the name, if there's a story behind, for literally any reason. Associate your kiddo with a card. Don't tell me what it is. I want to hear that story when I have you on as a guest. But that will be your homework for when you're a guest.
I have to pick a card that I associate with my kid?
Associate with your kid in some way, shape, or form. So, for example, last week, my kid as a card was Defile.
Okay.
From Magic the Gathering, because she was in baby blowout time, so she just started blowing out her diaper. So she's defiling quite often, and the picture of it... The picture of it is a guy who's just covered in and I'm like, that's life right now.
Okay.
Oh my god.
That was my kid as a card last week. So
Yeah.
there's your inspiration.
I mean, having playing TCGs for as long as I have and whatnot, and it's like sometimes I'll look at a card. It may not be specifically for my kids, but I'll see a card and it reminds me of an incident that happened or a situation or somebody that I had met or a friend or something like that. So it's, but
yeah, you can do it, Mac.
yeah.
He used to judge you in real time.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, like we're so close, me and her, right? It's very easy, right, to get those connections, right, when we see something, especially in gaming, right? So,
Yeah.
That's why I'm really excited to have at least you, again, if not both of you on. That's something you and I can talk about. You know, right now I'm trying to prevent the nightmare, but I mean, especially I've seen you two interact so many times. It kind of feels like in some cases you guys are living the dream. Like,
yeah.
That's the relationship I want with my daughter. Of I want to go travel to a place and have her be the better one and be like the problem sometimes, and be like, yeah, I didn't expect that. Like,
no.
You got to deal with that now.
She keeps me in line more than I keep her in line. That's for sure. Yeah, I'm the one that ends up causing most of the trouble or issues, or yeah. She has to tell me to be quiet, or hey, you can't say that. And it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah,
as immature as we both are, and as nuts as we both are, yeah, I know, you know, right from wrong.
He's trying not to laugh. Look at him.
You know what? I'm just gonna wait.
Yeah, just wait it out. We have so much fun though. That's the main thing, right? Like, and there's nobody else that I would want to do something like this then with my own kids, right? My family. So it's 100% love it.
It was so cool hanging with you guys out in Washington.
Oh yeah, it was a blast.
All of you guys geek out about stuff.
Yeah.
I said, that's just what I want. Like, my wife is not a gamer at all. I'm just getting her into some board games, but there is no way. I'm hoping that maybe I can build her an aerial deck for Lorcana, and maybe she'll look at the game for 2 seconds.
Right. So, JC, he introduced me to Kingdom Hearts, and like I'd never, the card game, the original card game, Kingdom Hearts, and it was like wow because it's Disney, and my wife is a huge Disney fan. She absolutely loves. She can vouch for that. Loves Disney and that, and I'm like maybe this is something she'd be interested in, and so I showed it to her, and she's like, "Oh, that's really cool. It's got Disney characters," but had no interest in learning how to play the actual game.
She's so busy, right?
I have a big experiment I'm running. So our daughter's name is Elizabeth Azalea, Elizabeth Azalea Senart, and it's a blend of our respective nerddom. So as a Flesh and Blood player, my main was Azalea because I'm a rotten fool, and anybody who knows Flesh and Blood knows exactly what that means. So I got the middle name, but Elizabeth is for Sam, and one of the nicknames for Elizabeth is Buffy because of how kids say Elizabeth. They can't get the parts, so they say Buff, so Buffy happens. It's cute. But my wife's favorite show is Buffy the
Vampire Slayer. Right when I heard the word Buffy, I was like,
so I was able to find, and this is gonna be my experiment with the wife. I found the Buffy the Vampire Slayer card game, and I bought a bunch of it, including starter decks and whatnot. I'm gonna see. I really don't think it's gonna work because it's such a bad game, but I'm gonna see if I can at least get her to be like, I'll play this at least once. I'll play this at least twice.
Yep.
The first I know is out of pity, and it's out of pity. The second time is out of interest.
Yeah, probably. Like, I mean, when I told her too about Lorcana coming, right, and she showed a little bit of excitement. Like, I mean, because it is going to be straight Disney, and it incorporates a lot more than what Kingdom Hearts did. But yeah, it'll be interesting.
Straight Disney.
We'll see.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts cards are pricey. Oh
They are pricey, yeah. Well, out of print, games no longer being made, right? So, and they're so hard to come by. So hard to come
We're
by.
getting a lot of those. I mean, Genesis being one, which is cute, but Art and Saga is making a comeback online as the developers have popped themselves back in. Harry Potter is trying to see a resurgence. That game's trying to come
Star
back.
Wars is coming back again. Like Star Wars Unlimited.
Star Wars Unlimited, now the sixth attempt to turn Star Wars into a card game. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I know. Keeping our fingers crossed this one's successful, though, because, it sounds good. It does sound pretty cool.
They unleashed the rules like 2 days ago. It actually looks pretty fun. They've got some cool design decisions. So,
Yeah.
me and FFG are kind of like this. I really don't.
I think everybody in FFG is kind of like this. I mean,
How they treated Netrunner, the design team were such snobs that it made me just not be a big fan of them. But Netrunner is my favorite card game of all time. It's not even close. So I'm like, all right, maybe you guys can do. Maybe you can.
Did you play Netrunner a lot?
Huh?
Did you play Netrunner a lot?
When it was out,
Yeah.
Android Never. Oh, it was my main game.
Yeah.
And I played the living daylights out of it. That's, in my opinion, that is the perfect card game. And that's that. There's a proper blend of mind games that both sides have to play. There's solid risk and reward outside of Anarch, whatever. That's FFG's problem. The risk and reward was great. The asymmetrical aspect of it was awesome. It was really cool. It was oh man, it was so good. And any meta can darn near get uprooted by somebody just willing to take some chances and just roll the dice and let's see what happens. And love Netrunner.
Yeah, it's a shame that one's still not on the go. But hey, you
Yeah,
never know, right?
that one died because of success.
Yeah.
Because Wizard of the Coast had the Netrunner IP, I think, or they had the Android IP, and FFG had Netrunner. I might have those reversed, but whatever. And both of those companies ended up getting bought, Hasbro and Asmodee. So when the contract renewal for that game come up at the 6-year mark, no way is Hasbro and Asmodee interested in chatting with each other. So that was the end of that. That was the end of that game.
It's unfortunate.
I know. And then they just let the trademark just die. So
Yeah, take care, cardboard cohorts are saying bye there.
Yeah, see, Andrew, I know. I do this. I make things go longer than expected.
No, it's
We're
okay.
only at 8
It's all good.
o'clock.
Yeah, it's only 8. We started a little bit late anyway, so not a big deal. It's all good. Yeah, we definitely. Oh, yeah. So you're saying you have a daughter wanting to play card games. Artwork. So let's get into art. Like, so I know a lot of the new card games, art has a tendency to go a little to the extreme as far as being kid-oriented. I guess that would be the best way to put it. Getting a little bit more risque in some of the artworks, especially like when you got games with waifu characters on it, etc. Right? I mean, they're borderlining how far they can push before it becomes like, hey, this game should only be for adults, right?
Yeah, the waifu thing is doing so much damage to the animation blend. It bugged me.
He went to the water bottle on that one instead of the beer. But anyway, we want to thank you so much, Joey, because we're gonna let you go for now. Thank you so much. We definitely are looking forward to coming on your show, Priority Windows. So like we said,
I have one final question.
Oh,
Sorry, one final question. This might have already been like answered or asked or whatever. What was the first card game you were introduced to or ever played?
Oh, okay. Let's do that. I'll do that. I can do that story real quick because it's
Really quickly, yeah.
Matt, this will probably blow your mind a little bit. Not the answer, but the how. So first card game I ever got introduced to was Magic the Gathering.
Okay.
And I was born in '84, so I got it at the very beginning of it. How I was introduced to it. Back before, for us, we'll call it Columbine, but back before security in schools was not really a thing anybody thought about, we had a hobby day in 2nd grade. So we had a lot of, as a kiddo, we didn't know the kinds of things that we would like. Maybe we would know kind of cool stuff that we can get involved in. So they invited a bunch of people to come out and just share their hobbies, be it sewing, be it sports, be it, whatever.
Yep.
Guy from Witch of the Coast came in, and he brought Magic the Gathering, this little card game that was just up and coming in '93. And he said, "Hey, if you're a gamer, if you like doing games, you should check out this thing that we have." So my first exposure was to Magic the Gathering in the 2nd grade by somebody who came out to show us the game, just to introduce children to a hobby.
Nice.
And that was how it started.
That's awesome.
Right in school.
It was real cool. And then, I lived on the Bible Belt, so as soon as my parents saw, for me it was Terror and Unholy Strength were the 2 cards my parents saw, and I had to throw all of those things away. I had to throw all of my magic away. Yes,
see that yeah, you gotta see Steven's comment. It's like, okay, so WOTC was literally introducing crack in classrooms. Yeah.
What's funny about that, Steven, is like this is the same time that the DARE program is happening.
Oh my god.
I remember
It's the biggest flaw of DARE was that the call to action didn't work. Just say no didn't work. And at the end of the day, nobody walked away feeling empowered to say no more than we had a lot of knowledge on how to get drugs.
Yeah, exactly, right. They're saying you want to keep your kids away from drugs, teach them how to play Magic. Right? Like,
yeah, it was
then
like
they
they
won't
were
have money
one
for
step
drugs.
away
Exactly.
from saying is like, hey kids, if you want to be safe from drugs, don't go to the corner of 5th and Main Street behind the McDonald's at 7 p.m. Like, thanks guys.
I just thought it was cool to see the
that's what
guns.
it says. Just send them down to your local LGS, right? We'll keep them away from drugs for sure.
Like we knew what it looked like. We knew how, because they also wanted to make sure that like if it did happen that we didn't take anything like laced. So they like taught us how to do drugs safely. Randomly. What is wrong with you? No, instead, yeah, we
Be
got
sure to
the
cut the
cardboard back
cocaine with the
instead.
credit card.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so growing up in the Bible Belt, again during that time as well, it was like they saw Unholy Strength and they saw Terror, which is like the little fetus, and I tried to convince them. I tried to show them like the other white cards. I'm like, there's angels, mom, and they saw the big pentagram, and I had to throw them all in the dumpster.
That's too bad. It's unfortunate. But anyway,
that's how I got started. Thanks for the question, Mac.
Yeah, that's alright.
No, it's a pretty wild story because that's just not a thing that really happens anymore. But in a weird way, it sort of does, as now it's kids introducing people to it. So that is kind of on your subject of artwork. Steve-O is kind of one of those like kid brings in something that's maybe a little risque because their parents don't care.
right?
That's literally what happened.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, with the internet, kids have access to so much, right? But I mean, I think some games, and we could probably get into talking about this at another date or whatnot. It's, especially with raising kids, right, and wanting your kids, what they're able to view or look at or, get involved in, right? And if TCGs are going to start taking it to the limit as far as what kind of, how bad or how far are they going to push for the artwork on the cards, right? So
What do you use though? Is there like
Dave and I
a
are very
demonic
much
code
in
card?
we know we're not going to be able to stop it, so
Perfect.
we're gonna just develop a habit of having those like kind of in-depth conversations ahead of time and try to make them respectful and just not try to be idiots that are thinking that going and yelling at the PTA is going to mean anything. It's not.
exactly. Do you play My Hero?
Oh boy.
I don't, but I've tried it.
You've tried it, and your thoughts? You like it? It'd be the Universes, actually. The Universes system.
Growing up as a Star Wars CCG kid, I love Destiny Draughts.
Okay.
So MHA did great for that. To be fair to it, the guy who trained me, because I learned it at Gamma, and that kid was not equipped for any of what he was in for, so he did not do a great job. I thought it was okay. I really like the risk and reward system that MHA has that can be offset by the energy that you put on the field. That's really cool. There's some really cool design decisions. Outside of that, I struggled with the typical problems that I feel JTCGs have, which is by turn 2 there are so many mechanics on the board that if you don't know them, you almost need to like take a timeout for 10 minutes. I struggled with that aspect of it, but there was some cool design decisions. I can see why people who like know the game can have an absolute blast with it.
Oh yeah, we've been recently getting involved in it a lot. She really likes it. I enjoy it, playing it. Who's your hero? You have a hero?
For MHA? No.
No. You yourself.
Was on the demo deck.
You yourself. Do you have a hero? Who's your hero?
I'm sorry. What context? I'm sorry. I'm struggling with this. Like just general hero?
In general, do you have a hero?
Personal.
I mean, I've got a personal hero. It's not a My Hero Academia hero, but I have
That's
my
okay.
own personal hero.
Yeah. Who's your personal hero?
My personal hero, my personal idol is Boston Bruins defenseman Ray Bork.
Nice. Bruins. Yes. Why?
The reason for that is I am, as a professional, as even just a person, I'm somebody who really likes to break the mold. I like to try wild, bizarre, crazy things. If you need the proof of that, feel free to check out Dungeon Crawling for Genesis Battle of Champions. I like trying experiments that try to move forward in ways that nobody expects. I like shocking the system. Ray Bork did that for 21 years of his career and had no title to show for it. And there was no question in anyone's mind that he was the best at what he did for all of that time, despite not having that grand thing. And that's kind of where I feel like I'm at right now. And he has the perfect ending to the story, which is that last year he came to the Colorado Avalanche, was like, I'll do one more year. I'll do it one more time. And he won his title.
Yep.
And he won that. He had the best ending, and that's what I would love to do, is break the mold so much and know that it's going to be such a pain for a lot of people, but hopefully have that one moment that is like, maybe he was onto something. Maybe actually this was really cool. What a neat way to just rethink everything we thought about what he did. And Ray Bork was the guy that did that.
Nice. So are you a Bruins fan?
Huh?
Are you a Bruins fan?
They are my Eastern team.
Your Eastern team. Oh yeah,
if I'm voting for East Coast, if it's not the Avs, if they're out and Boston's in, I'm voting for
Who is your overall best? Your best?
For hockey teams?
Yeah.
It's the Avs. We moved to Colorado in '93. I didn't even know what hockey was. I barely knew what ice was living in Louisiana. All that I had to go on sports-wise was I grew up when the New Orleans Saints were the Aints. I grew up when fans were going to the stadium and putting bags on their head because they did not want anybody to know that they were a Saints fan. That's how bad they were. So we came to Colorado, and the hockey team showed up 2 years later, and it felt real good to win something because they won the first year they were here. And I just fell in love with the game. So the Avs have just always, they were my first team of hockey. Must stop.
Colorado. Yeah. Colorado's got a good team. They're not bad, yeah. I agree with you. Yeah, Bruins.
We're okay. Some Sunday, you guys got the second round. Toronto did.
True enough. Anyway, did you want to stay on and...
You're probably Montreal.
No. Yeah, we're close. No, we're closer to Toronto than Montreal, but yeah. I've been a Bruins fan almost all my life, so...
I grew up with the Bruins.
That's cool. Yeah, I have a Bruins jersey. It's the only other jersey that I have outside my house.
Nice. So you want to join us for My Hero JC Card of the Week?
Oh yeah.
Okay, My Hero JC Card of the Week.
I'll join you. Let's go.
Cremation!
Attempt this?
You're going to attempt it.
I would
Okay.
like to attempt it. I don't have my glasses. Can I have my glasses, please?
I'm gonna try to
Do you want me to read it then?
No, I just want my glasses.
Oh, your glasses. You need your glasses.
Yeah, I need
Okay.
my glasses. Thank you.
Go sports.
I'm just a little blind, that's all.
Okay, so this is Cremation. Has a 1 check. Enhance. Lose 1 health. This attack gets a +3 speed. If your character is Dobby, your rival loses 1 health. And then a response. Lose 2 health. After your rival plays their 3rd non-attack card this combat phase, add the top card of your deck to your momentum. Only 1 copy of this ability can be played per turn. So here's what My Hero JC says.
Once again, we are checking out the side of the villains in My Hero Academia, and this time with the card Cremation, an action card. Decks may decide to run a few actions for a quick benefit of some kind, and with them not remaining in play. Usually have a strong effect, and Cremation certainly shows that. Cremation's first ability may seem a little pricey for an enhance by costing 1 health. However, it is a nice way to surprise your opponent to make an attack much harder to block with bumping its speed. If you are playing Dobby, you will get a nice little added benefit of making your rival lose 1 health. Now comes my favorite ability on this card, in response. It does cost 2 health and can only be played after a rival plays their 3rd non-attack during the combat phase, but will allow you to add the top card of your deck to your momentum. Wow.
Yep.
This card will come in hot on those early turns, especially the turn 1 or turn 2 of your opponent when they may be working to set up their foundations. Turn 1, they drop 3 foundations, and then you play this, and already you are going to have a momentum ready to go. At a difficulty of 1, you will more than likely have this go off. This will be great to set up EX or X.
Yep.
And EX and powerful abilities, or even echo abilities quickly. Not to mention the slew of other abilities that require you to use up a momentum to use. This card is plenty diverse for situations to make an attack hit or setting up. So why not turn up the heat on your opponent and give this action a try in a deck that utilizes momentum being spent. Next time we will finish the card types and check in on an asset. Now go back to class heroes or villains as you await the next lesson.
Yeah.
I like that. I know enough about the game to kind of know what enough of those things mean. I like risk and reward cards more than I like silver bullet cards. And from what I understand about the game, this, in a weird way, like that response is almost kind of a silver bullet of sorts against decks that set up like crazy, because I remember the response system, I remember the foundation system. But if that's just not the way they're doing it, if that's not the way they're going, it still has a benefit that's pretty solid. I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I hate the if your opponent's playing blue in Magic, then you get to do a thing. Don't do that. So I like risk reward that is not wasted if you miss.
It is, and there are a lot of risk reward cards like this in MHA.
Because of speed and all that.
Yeah. But they always come at a cost too, right? So it's not. It becomes, that's where the risk is, right? So you're giving up that health. You're utilizing your health as a resource, more or less, which we can all relate in Genesis too.
I really liked that about MHA. Of I can keep my turn going, and it's at a greater risk each time. Again, the Star Wars kid in me loved that as well. If you wanted to fire a weapon, if you wanted to succeed in something, you had a destiny draw that you needed higher numbers, but the trade-off was that they sucked sometimes.
Yeah, on top of that as well. But anyway, there you have it. There's Cremation, My Hero JC card of the week. So I want to say thank you so much, Joey, for coming out tonight and joining us on our stream. Really appreciate it.
This was a lot of fun, and it makes me so jazzed for when we record. I need to like bump you on earlier. Give you like my first
Yeah, you know how to get in touch with me anytime. Just let me know. Give me a couple days heads up, and we'll make it happen for sure. Definitely look forward to it.
You'll have some time, definitely, but it'll be a blast. So,
perfect.
And thank you, Kenny, behind the computer. Thank you, Kenny, for doing all of the things,
yes,
like calling me Mama Bear and screwing up putting my logo on every time and keeping Cremation in the top corner for no reason right now. You are appreciated.
And then he's just gonna zoom in on Mama Bear there. Oh, Cremation is gone. There, Cremation is finally gone. But anyway, so be sure to check out Joey on Decks and Drafts on YouTube. Just like and subscribe to his channel as well as ours as well. We really appreciate all the support and everybody for participating in the chat this evening. Thank you very much. So behalf on one side of the coin, and Joey, our guest, I'm Steveo the Gamer.
Mack-Attack.
We will see you next week on One Side of the Coin. Have a great night, everybody.
See ya.
Cheers, everybody.
Take care.